Hey guys, Tiffany with another video, and y'all, I feel like this video is long overdue. I have been talking about the new Sephora Pro palettes before they even came out. They finally released on the 4th of July. I was so excited to place my order, get my hands on it, and there has just been so much crap with me trying to get this palette. They claim UPS delivered it late. Then when it arrived, it was completely shattered. I'm talking about I opened up the box, gold dust everywhere. My floor was covered in gold glitter. It was just crazy. They finally sent out my new palette. I got my hands on it. I played around with it. It is the palette that I used on my eye look. I have swatches and my thoughts and all that good stuff. So let's get started. So Sephora did release 3 of their Pro palettes, and of those 3 I only picked up one, the main one I wanted, which was the warm palette, but they also released a cool tone palette and then also a editorial palette that has lots of bright, bold, and fun colors that y'all know I'm more than likely not going to use. So that's really why I chose not to pick up any of those. Now as far as the packaging goes, here is how it comes packaged in this black and gold packaging, and it just says Sephora Pro Pigment Palette, and then it has the name of it. It tells you that the net weight is 0.28.004 ounces or 1.2 grams of product. And then on the back of it, you do just get the colors and the names of the shadows. It tells you what is a Sephora Pro, and then it also tells you the ingredients of the eyeshadows. And then when you take the palette out of the sleeve, here is how it looks. It is just this black matte. This is the type of packaging and color that will get dirty fingerprints all over it, but the one thing I know is that it's easy to clean. Just use a makeup wipe and then those fingerprints come right off. So it does again say Sephora Pro in gold, and then on the back it just says Sephora Pro. When you open it up on the inside, it does come with a really nice size mirror, which I don't want to blind you, but it comes with a really good size mirror. And then you get this card that has all the names of the eyeshadows. I know some people don't like these, some people do. I know with the Natasha Denona palettes, which let's be for real, these are what most people are comparing them to. It's attached, so you can lift it up, but it doesn't come out. I, for one, don't really like these in there. Again, I know the names are on it, but the names are also on the box, so I'll probably just keep it in, but whenever I'm doing my makeup, I don't want it there anyway, so it doesn't bother me that it comes out like that. But again, you do get 28 eyeshadows. You get a mixture of mattes and shimmers. Now, the one thing I will say is that I wish there were more shimmer shades, or maybe an equal amount of shimmer to matte shades. That was definitely the first thing I noticed when I opened it up. I was like, okay, you got a lot of mattes, but not too many shimmers. You get a total of 8 shimmer shades. So out of a 28 eyeshadow palette, you're getting 20 mattes. And again, I am someone that loves matte eyeshadows, but I really do love the shimmer shades in here. I feel like these are the standout of the palette. So I just wish that they would have incorporated a few more shades for it to be a 28 eyeshadow palette. Now, of course, a lot of people have been comparing this as a dupe to specifically the Natasha Denona Sunset palette. You do have that yellow matte in there, which the Natasha Denona Sunset palette also has that, as well as the ColourPop Yes Please palette. And I like to throw in that the ColourPop Yes Please palette is only $16. This palette was, I want to say, $68, and then the Natasha Denona palette was $129. So you do see that there is a definite price difference again for this to supposedly be dupeable to that palette. You get some really nice warm browns, you get that black in there. Again, you get those really pretty shimmer shades. Of course, I am wearing that cranberry shade as well as some of the other mattes on my eye today. Y'all know I love cranberry shades, so as soon as I saw it, I was like, it's a no-brainer for what kind of color I want to wear. And then I just kind of played around with the rest of the mattes. I'm gonna go ahead and get into the swatches. Shout out to my handy dandy assistant Lonnie. She braved it because in front of our house we have like a lot of bugs that fly that she doesn't like. So it was a little bit of a struggle trying to keep her still, but I wanted you guys to be able to see the swatches in natural lighting. So we'll get into the swatches and then I'll come back and just give you guys my so far thoughts on this palette. palette, and the main thing a lot of people have been asking me as soon as you guys saw on Snapchat that I finally got the right palette and not the all shattered broke up one, is what about the chalkiness, what about the kickback, what about the dust on the palette. First things first, this is a dusty palette. Seriously, it's like you're looking dusty, you know what I mean? Like, this is a really dusty palette. There is a lot of fallout with this palette. There is a lot of kickback. I wouldn't really say that it's chalky, but there is definite kickback with this. But for me, that is not a deal breaker, because I think of a lot of other eyeshadow palettes I have. Specifically, I'm going to say the Modern Renaissance, the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance. There is a lot of fallout with that palette. There is a lot of dust. With majority of the Lorac eyeshadows, there is a lot of dust. There is a lot of fallout. There is a lot of kickback when you place your brush in those. But I feel like once you put your brush in there, you kind of tap your brush off, these eyeshadows blend out really well. They apply really well to the eye. So although, yes, there is a lot of dust, and if you are someone who does not like dusty palettes, this is not going to be the palette for you. I can't really speak on the cool tone. I can't speak on the editorial because, again, I didn't pick those up. But there's a lot of dust with this palette first and foremost, but like I said, for me, it's definitely not a deal breaker. As far as the color selection in this palette, I do feel like there are a lot of similar shades that maybe they could have gave us a little bit more variety. This whole row right here, for me, it's more of maybe like an underbrow highlight, and I don't always like for my underbrow highlight to be lighter. I kind of like it to be a little bit more natural or neutral, so I don't get much use out of these shades right here. But if you are of a lighter skin tone, I think these will probably be really great transition shades. Now again, as far as the shimmer shades in here, the pigmentation is amazing. They are all so soft, so buttery. It's like you put your finger or you put your brush in there and they just apply so smooth. I personally feel like they apply better with your finger. For this shade right here, I did apply it onto my lid using my finger. I feel like with the brush you don't get as much of a wow factor, but you know, for me, again, that's just more of a personal thing. Now, I do feel like there are some shades in here that are just crap. Specifically, two main shades. This shade right here, which you would think is a really pretty peach, if you guys even saw in the swatches, it's almost non-existent. Like, you are going to have to dig in this shade to get some color. I wanted it to be my inner corner highlight, but I ended up having to put another shadow down and then just kind of packing that color on top of it just to get it to show. But just right off the bat, like, for it to be one of the shimmer shades, it's definitely the most disappointing shade for me. And then you also have this brown shimmery shade right here. One, I think that's a kind of an ugly color. I'm gonna just be honest, Sephora, that's a really ugly color. But it also does not swatch well. It doesn't apply well. The color is almost non-existent and there's just no pigmentation. So those two shades for sure. And then you also get this kind of grayish, cooly ashy tone type of brown, and it was just a weird fit. I know these are warm shades, but for me, that one being thrown in there, it was just kind of a weird fit, and I know it's not an eyeshadow that I would probably ever gravitate towards. So those really were the three disappointment shades overall for me. Actually, no, I lied. There is four. There's also this like baby poop brown type of color, brownie taupe color. It just looks like baby poop, like when babies are first born and their bodies haven't really processed their waste. So it's this really weirdish color. That is what that color puts me in the mind of. And again, for me, it is not a color that I'm trying to apply on my eyes. So it was just like a weird placement. But once you get past those colors that I don't like, and once you get past the fact that yes, this is a super dusty palette, I'm actually really happy with this palette. You guys already know these are colors that definitely speak to my soul. So having more warm tone colors is not something that bothers me. If you already have quite a few warm toned eyeshadows, do I necessarily feel like you're gonna miss out if you don't pick this up? I don't, because I know these are more than likely colors that if I really went through my eyeshadow palettes, I could find dupes for them. But again, just because I'm a neutral warm girl, no one can ever tell me that I can have enough warm tone neutral palettes. I'm sorry. I just can't. So again, it's not a deal breaker for me, but I think if you're someone who maybe does not already have a whole bunch of warm tone eyeshadows and you want a really nice palette to add to your collection, and you can overlook the fact that yes, it's dusty, its swatch is dusty, just tap off your brush, and I'm telling you, when you apply these colors to the eye, they are absolutely gorgeous and I love them. Yeah, there are some shades in there that I know for a fact I probably wouldn't use. Again, for the lighter spectrum, my lighter skin tone sisters and brothers, you guys will find some really great transition shades. But don't be fooled, for us women and men of color, there are a lot of warm tone transition shades in this palette. I think this is a really great palette to use on its own. Again, I used it today, and except for that one additional shade I added in the inner corner, I used all of the colors out of here. I've been using like onesie, twosie type of colors for like the past week, and I honestly really like it. I think it's going to be a personal preference. I think if you're someone, again, you don't like the dusty eyeshadows, you don't like the kickback for eyeshadows and the fallout, then I mean, hey, you might want to skip this one. But I promise, if you just work with it just a little bit, tap off your brush, they apply beautifully on the eye. I'm really happy I picked it up. I heard some people say these are going to be limited edition palettes. I heard some people say these are going to be permanent. If I can find out for sure, I'll leave that information down below in the description box. So just initially, I am really happy that I picked it up, again, because I love colors like this. I think the colors, once applied to the eye, they blend out really well. They work really well together. I love the sturdiness of the packaging. It's got really nice weight to it, and I can appreciate that. Except for the fact, if you're trying to ship it to somebody, just make sure you cover it in bubble wrap. It's sturdy, but it's not that sturdy. Sephora. But if you guys have already picked up either this palette, the Cool palette, the Editorial palette, definitely let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Let me know how you like it, you dislike it, and whatever else you want to tell me. And until next time, bye YouTube.